loose in front, and they deflect it home. Back in front. Low slot, they score. The zone at the point. From the center of the zone, it goes home. A wrist shot.
Welcome to the UNC Hockey Coaches Show here at Blues on Franklin. Chris Lehman with you here in Chapel Hill. Got a lot on the docket for you tonight, of course. Up here with me right now, we have Colin Wall, Wills Kendrick Holmes, as well as Misha Saboden, and we'll get to them here in a minute, but we got a lot packed into this. Of course, we'll talk to these three here. We're also going to talk to a few other players, including Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Henry Foster, and Florian Zajic, as well as the man himself, head coach Jeff Volkman. But before we get into how the season's gone, winning the South Division, heading to the ACCHL tournament this upcoming weekend, we're going to kind of take a peek under the hood, so to speak, as to how the team itself operates, because there's a lot that goes into it, and we have some people up here who are really kind of influential in that. Of course, General Manager Colin Wall all the way down on my left, as well as Misha Saboden, the student vice president, and the student president, and Wills Kendrick Holmes. First, though, I want to start with our GM, Colin Wall. And Colin, I want to talk about the organizational structure of the team. Obviously, we get to see the guys on the ice every week. We get to see them play, but there's a whole lot more that goes into getting them on the ice. So how is that kind of structured?
Yeah, so we have two components. One is a booster club. The Booster Club is an independent, separate organization. It's a 501c3 organization, nonprofit. So the main goal of the Booster Club, and we have a board of directors and all of that, but the main goal is just to help fundraise. This school provides about 15, maybe 20% of the operating budget for the team. So the rest of it has got to come from donors. It's got to come from selling merchandise. It's got to come from game tickets. It's a bunch of other things. Player dues is another big chunk of it. So, that's what the Booster Club gets involved in. It's really the financial part of the game. And then the other side of it is, I'm just kind of working to help the coach do everything other than coach, which is the website, the merchandise, the travel schedule, booking hotels, all the stuff that can take up an inordinate amount of time and cause, loss of focus on what's really important, which is getting the guys on the ice and practicing and winning games.
Well, as we turn to the players themselves here and talk about your roles when it comes to being president and vice president, we'll start with you, Wills. What do you do as the president of the team? What are you in charge of in that role?
Yeah, so it kind of takes a village, just like you were saying. There's a lot of people involved, but kind of the main things I focus on are travel, like Colin said. So he helps me out with that. We also have a travel agent, Renee, who's really great. So getting the travel itinerary as well as the lodging, buses, and figuring that out. And then I'll work with Misha to figure out where our funding is at and how many meals we want to get on the road, or how we want to travel. Do we want to carpool and give guys gas cards, or do we want to take a charter bus? And then kind of on the more fun side of things, I get to work on kind of alternate jerseys and merchandise and whatnot, which is kind of the stuff I like to get more into, get creative. So,
yeah, that's the fun stuff, right? So for the two of you, and I ask this to both of you, we'll start with you, Misha.
Yeah, sure.
Is there anything that you've had to think about or make decisions on when it comes to the team that you've never really had to before, you haven't really thought of? Yeah. Obviously, I think for all of us growing up playing youth hockey, the parents kind of take care of it all, and now you step in and do it. So what's kind of the most surprising thing?
As you guys know, it's a student-run organization, so we're involved a lot. Pretty much everybody's involved. We have 6 officers, I think, who are heavily involved on a weekly basis. So it takes a lot of people, like Will said. But what I mainly do for the most part is I'm involved in a lot of the financial transactions, a lot of the financial stuff. So like a lot of the stuff that the treasurer would do. So I guess just budgeting really is the main thing that's kind of been difficult in general, because it's like we don't have unlimited amount of money, and so we're only granted a certain amount of money from the undergraduate student government, and then we have to work with Colin as well to kind of fill the gaps in between and stuff, just to provide a top level experience for everybody. So really just budgeting, figuring out where we're going to prioritize our money, which is obviously getting meals, staying at the proper hotel where everybody can sleep and be accommodated comfortably and such. So that's really the main thing, just budgeting.
What about for you, Wills?
Yeah, I think kind of the same along what Misha said is I think the biggest thing that I've done that, I didn't ever think about as a youth hockey player is just we pick how we want to travel, and then prioritizing based on maybe opponent or like this weekend, everyone's going to be in their own bed as opposed to, in the past, maybe we'll have a guy share a bed with another guy, and whatnot. And then we get to, decide how many guys we want to have, meals and whatnot. So.
All right, and how did you two, particularly how'd you get involved in the leadership of the team? What was it, just getting voted on, or did you volunteer to take over those positions?
Yeah, it gets voted on. So at the end of every year, it's pretty much like any other undergrad student organization or club. So you pretty much just vote on who's going to fill the positions of all the officer positions. So president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, etc. So yeah, we voted on it at the end of last year. So probably do the same process again.
And one thing that I want to really hit on throughout the course of the show tonight is the development of the organization here in terms of UNC hockey and how much it's grown. And you two have been here as part of the team for a while now. Colin, obviously you came in and have really helped out in the organizational roles as well. What are the biggest changes that you guys have seen to the organization as it continues to grow and develop? And we'll start with Colin down there.
Yeah, I think it's just, positive momentum. In 2019 when I started working with the team, it was kind of the energy level was very different. Our eyes weren't on a regional champion, winning regionals, going to regionals even. We weren't even thinking about nationals at that time. So I think the whole energy level is the big thing, I'd say. And I think that comes from, having a lot of talent on the team, winning games, starting to build that track record, getting really super respected by opponents on the ice. So that's what I would say.
And for you guys as part of the team, what are the kind of the big developments you've seen out of the team?
I mean, honestly, just the quality of the university itself attracts really high quality students in general. And like our team from top to bottom, not only on the ice but off the ice, is always top notch in everything we try to do. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's really the biggest improvement, I think, just the quality of people. And even talking to Coach, like I've only been here for a couple years, but Coach was telling me about previous teams and like how different it was in terms of clicks and how close the team was in general. And so this year we're all really, really close. So I think it's probably one of the biggest differences.
Yeah, and as you bring that up, that kind of brings me to another question. You talked about the university attracting, really good student athletes
for sure
for you guys. So that was kind of something that I was interested to hear from Wills and from Misha about, was how much the hockey team and the program here at UNC, maybe not necessarily for you two specifically, but in general, how much that plays into a decision of, I'll apply to this school or I won't apply to this school. And we'll also start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the quality of UNC, we're really competing for maybe those bubble D3 guys that are from, prep schools, that have a lot of academic potential and really want to do something with their life and maybe don't want to go play, in the middle of nowhere at a, maybe not as great of an academic quality school. So I think that's kind of where we, compete for guys and provide a lot of value versus maybe NCAA D3.
And for Misha, what was it that attracted to you to the hockey program specifically here at Carolina?
Yeah, I think really Coach was pretty convincing when I got into here. I mean, I obviously only applied to schools that had a hockey program coming in, and like I was really prioritizing academics. So, I mean, Coach himself, obviously, but just, I guess, the up-and-coming team as well, I guess. So, really those two things.
Chris Lehman alongside Wills Kendrick Holmes, Misha Saboden, and Colin Wall here on the UNC Hockey Coaches Show. And as we close in on the end of this segment, I just kind of want to focus a little bit on the future here as we look forward at where this team is headed and where this organization is headed. And I want to start with the players here on this question. But as you think ahead, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years, you come back as an alumnus of the university, you come to a UNC hockey game. What is kind of the hope to see? What developments do you hope to see as the team continues to progress forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest pitch to the boys when we were doing elections last year for exec board is that, I really wanted to grow the organization as a professional organization, and that's really the steps that I want to see in the next 3 to 5 years as these guys get to carry it on, is just, keep traveling better. Last year we were eating KFC and Taco Bell out of pocket on the road, and, now we're catering
real
meals.
Good fuel food for you.
Yeah, and actually, fueling up properly before games. So I want to see travel continue to improve, our rink situation, fan experience, and, all the things along those lines that make, a top-notch program that people want to come be a part of. So,
yeah.
Misha?
And I think just for me, I think a really big impact on the Carolina community in general. Like, we all have seen what NC State, the impact they've made on their student, on their campus in general, and like their student population. So I think just having a big influence across campus and, you know, making a big impact in general. So
Yeah, and Colin, for you, I want to look more at it from a managerial standpoint. Obviously, for the players, they want to continue to make it better for the guys who will come after them. But I would imagine it's a little bit more of a short-term look for them than it is for you.
Yeah.
So you're around a little bit longer. So what are you looking to see? Obviously, you do a lot. We've talked a little bit about alumni, but what are you looking to do with this program and continuing to help it grow?
I think what I'd like to see in the short term is just consistently going to regionals, going to nationals. That's not a dream anymore. Just making that, you know, being surprised if we don't get there instead of the other way around. So that would be the short-term goal, just getting the best players on board that we can get and continuing to increase the talent. And then that gets the alumni excited. That'll get the athletic director and the people that, you know, we need to excite in this community behind the hockey team. And then, you know, maybe 5 to 10 years out, if you guys are coming home to a game, I'd love to see you playing in a rink that's right down here on campus. That Friday nights, students aren't wondering what to do. They're going to the hockey game. It's hockey night in Chapel Hill on Friday nights. And Saturdays are reserved for basketball and football. But I'd love to see that. And a rink that not only accommodates the men's teams, that has a women's hockey team, that's used maybe by the UNC figure skating team, you know, that students can come out and go public skating, at various times in the week. But I'd love to see a huge transformation like that.
All right, General Manager Colin Wall and President, Vice President of the hockey team, Wills Kendrick Holmes and Misha Sabotin. We're going to take a quick break here on the UNC Hockey Coaches Show. When we come back, we'll have a few more players with us. Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Henry Foster, and Florian Zajic on the other side. Welcome back to the UNC Hockey Coaches Show here at Blues on Franklin. Chris Lehman, now joined by a few of the Tar Heel players. To my left here, I've got Florian Zajic, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, and Henry Foster. And real quick, just looking at what these three guys have done this season so far. We'll start with Patrick, 24 goals, leads UNC in goals, as well as in the country, second among all ACHA freshmen. That is not just Division II, that is all divisions. His 34 points is seventh most among ACHA Division II freshmen and 18th among all divisions in terms of freshmen. So a great season so far for Patrick, also named the ACCHL Rookie of the Year, part of the all-rookie team, as was Florian Zajic here with me, an all-rookie member of the ACCHL all-rookie team. 2 goals, 11 assists. You lead the team's defensemen in goals, assists, and points as well. And then Henry Foster down on the end, captain of the team, 14 goals, 14 assists, second in the country in shorthanded goals with 6 of them. So a lot going on up here. Before we get into all of that, I want to start with Flo and Pat. You guys obviously freshmen, kind of new to the program. How's the first year gone for you?
Well, fantastic. We're loving it. We are at the head of our division. We're heading into playoffs. There's no better place to be than at a UNC at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. It's been an awesome year with an awesome team.
And Pat, we got to get into the goal you scored against Virginia Tech, obviously. That was a fantastic goal. I was lost for words when you scored it, and it was kind of a wild play. So what was going on in your head, and what were you seeing coming down the ice?
Yeah, so I think it was our first game back from break, so a little rusty, came in a little too fast, just lost an edge. And, thankfully I was able to just reach behind me, somehow make it happen. When I got up, I had no idea I scored, and, the boys were just going crazy. Jay on the bench showed me the video, and I was like, all right, that looked pretty cool. So.
And then, of course, it gets picked up. Spittin' Chicklets tweets it out. The NHL tweeted it out. What was going through your head when you pull up Twitter, and there you are on the NHL's Twitter feed?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Unfortunately, no one really that cool reached out to me. Had a lot of strange people in my DMs, but yeah, it was pretty cool. It was nice to see the team get some love.
What was your favorite reaction, if there's whether it was a comment about the goal or a reaction you saw?
Probably just saw the Oshag Hennessy, he got sent to Oshag Hennessy's office. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Well, I also want to take a look at your personal accolades. What does it mean to you guys? Obviously, anyone who talks about hockey, you talk about it being a team game. We talked about Rookie of the Year. Both of you make the all-rookie team. What does that mean to the two of you?
I mean, it means a lot. I think it says a lot about just how good our team is. I play with a couple pretty good line mates, Cole and Misha. They set me up a lot, so they make playing easy and they make it fun.
I got to concur with Patty here. I think it speaks to the team a lot more than to our personal accolades, as you put it. We just have a really good group of guys here in this room and this year, and we succeed together, and it shows on the ice, off the ice. It's a great time.
And the leader of that team down on the end, Henry Foster, gets you into the conversation here a little bit as well.
No, I'm happy listening.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit about the changes you've seen in the team. Obviously, we've heard a little bit about how the team and the organization has changed, but for you, being the captain now, what have you seen in terms of changes with the boys in the locker room?
Yeah, it just continues to get better and better. I mean, coming from my freshman year, we had no games, just practices. It was just a fun time. Guys came out to play hockey, and last year we had a pretty good team all of a sudden, and everything got a little bit more intense, and then we hit the ground right where we left off last year with this year. Everything got a little bit better, everything got a little faster. Boys wanted a little bit more. It's all moving in the right direction. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
And speaking of fun, I think it's a lot of fun to score shorthanded goals, and you've had a chance to do that quite a bit this season. I think we talked about it on the previous coaches show, and then you go out that weekend and score another one against Virginia Tech to pick up that sixth one. What is it about playing shorthanded that has just worked so well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I pride myself on being a two-way player, being responsible offensively and defensively, and when you're on the penalty kill, they send out 5 of their most offensive guys. I know our power play's got 5 forwards right now, so you can kind of take advantage of that. If they get a turnover, they're not exactly going to be like Flo trying to man you down. You can go right to the net and sometimes catch them sleeping. So it's just been good. Yeah, got it 6 times now. It's just been fun.
Yeah, and this has been an impressive team to watch this season. You pick up the division championship. I think the first year of the Premier Division, you pick up the South Division championship. So let's talk about that now in the season in general. I think a popular talking point, of course, you're going to play them at least one more time, is NC State and how that season series has gone for you guys. But winning the division and being able to clinch it against NC State last weekend, how did that feel?
Amazing. Those guys are obviously a great hockey team, and there's a rivalry there. You can feel it. The fans show up. It's an overall great time. It's the most fun games for me at least, playing against those guys. We play our best hockey. Everybody just buys in. It's a good time, and clinching that series means a lot.
And Patrick, I'm curious to hear from you about, and just you guys as players in general, about how playing a team so much, because I don't remember the last time that whether it's NC State and UNC or anybody else have played that many times in a season, at least at this level. How has that changed? It's kind of interesting to see every game's decided by 2 goals, but how have they been different as you've played them more and more?
Yeah, so every game against State, we know it's just going to be a dogfight. Like, it always comes down to the third period. The 2 games we won, I think we were down a goal going into the third. Like, it's going to be a close game. That game, the last game against them in the third period, the ending was just crazy, back and forth. So we know coming out for the outdoor game, and if we see them next weekend, what to expect, and we got to be ready.
You mentioned this upcoming weekend, you got the ACCHL tournament. Obviously, with the win in the division, you get a bye. So you get the winner of NC State and Virginia Tech. And Henry, I'll get to you with this question. Going into the weekend, obviously it helps to have the bye. But regardless of who you play in that first game, it's going to be a real fight. What are you expecting out of either the Hokies or the Icepack in that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think our team's mentality is on ourselves. We're trying not to think too much about who we're going to play and what they're going to be like. We know that if we play our game and play our speed, how fast we are and how good we are, how skilled we are, there's nobody in the ACC that can hang with us. So as long as we take care of business on our end, we'll be all right.
And you were a part of it last year. You guys got real close, so tight game against NC State in the championship last year. What does the team draw from that experience going into the tournament this year?
Yeah, I think a lot of the returners are able to speak to it pretty well, and kind of the new guys have bought into. They felt the rivalry, but this weekend, everything just kind of turns up a notch. Everyone's obviously on their A game for playoffs. It's win or go home, and we don't want to go home. So it's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be hard fought, but it's going to be fun.
Oh, and the weekend after, I think, is also going to be a lot of fun. The Stadium Series game between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals will happen on Friday the 18th. 2 days later, you guys are going to get a chance to play on that ice at Carter Finley Stadium. So it's going to be a really, really big stage. Obviously, when you look at it from a season standpoint, it really doesn't have any impact. It's really an exhibition game, but it's going to have a lot of meaning behind it. What, for each of you guys, are you looking forward to most about that game? We'll start down at the end with Henry.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to play hockey outdoors, it's going to be really cool. I'm just excited for the venue. It's going to be kind of a spectacle. There's going to be a lot of fans in the crowd. We know it's an exhibition, but it always means something when State and UNC play. So it's going to be a fun game. I'm just kind of super excited to play outdoors in an NHL arena. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much the same thing. Getting to play State is special. Outside, the PNC game was incredible. So playing in an atmosphere similar to that, it's always going to be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can outnumber the Governor's Cup. So we're hoping to get a lot of people. That's always a fun time, playing in front of a crowd. And then, I mean, I think the Stadium Series was delayed because of the pandemic, so we don't know when the next Stadium Series is coming back to North Carolina. So taking advantage of that opportunity is probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing for us.
Well,
in college hockey.
You kind of seem to have a knack for doing it on the big stage. You scored your first goal of the season in that Governor's Cup game. You think you have another one up the sleeve?
I'll try my best.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us here on the UNC Hockey Coaches Show. We're going to have head coach Jeff Volkman joining us after this next break. This was Florian Zajic along with Patrick O'Shaughnessy and Henry Foster. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the UNC Hockey Coaches Show here at Blues on Franklin. Chris Lehman, now joined by the man himself, head coach Jeff Volkman of the Tar Heels hockey team. And Coach, we've talked about a lot of different things. The main theme has been, though, kind of the development of this team and into where it is now. And so I want to start with you talking about this team this year specifically and the biggest difference, because to me this is one of, if not the best team that the Tar Heels have put on the ice in a long time. What's the difference? What makes them a little bit better?
I think it's just, culture before success, and everybody kind of bought in at the beginning of the year. So, we knew we had the talent coming in this year and the skills. So, we just had to kind of come together, from a culture perspective, take responsibility, the desire to learn and get better for everyone, from the equipment manager to staff, front office, coaches, players. And that's where you get things done. So, that's what I would attribute that to.
So how do you go about doing that from like a recruiting standpoint? Obviously, to build a culture, you got to we hear about it a lot with the Hurricanes down the road about building a culture that's specific to kind of the identity of Rod Brindamore. How do you do something similar when you're bringing in kids for college, and specifically when you're looking at, a club team that doesn't get quite the same support as the Division I level teams?
You have to cast a pretty wide net, right? So, the outreach is worldwide now, and it's nice being a national brand. So, when I usually, the key is to go to the parents, as fast as possible, because once you say you're UNC, they're you're a heavy favorite. But, we just, I'm not a salesman, and, when I talk to these kids, I'm talking 5% hockey, and, I'm really selling the school, and so they're geared up, and they know what to expect, and when they arrive here and then they see the hockey program and everything that's happening top to bottom, it's just it's an unreal environment. It's just a great place to have your hockey career.
And you talk about environment. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but the environment at the OC this weekend I thought was really impressive in that game against NC State. Obviously, you don't get the result, but I'm not sure I've ever seen a game there that had it full to the brim around the boards. What was that like to see that many people out to support the team?
Yeah, I think it just shows you, time of day and having the right team. Obviously, they're a rival, so the guys love to play in front of fans. Who doesn't, right? So, and they're on top of you. And, it was nice to see, mostly UNC fans, right? We're not used to that with these big rival games. So it was a lot of fun. Obviously not the result we wanted, but, we'll give them one.
Well, and for you personally, a big accomplishment. You pick up your 100th win as the coach against UNCW earlier last month. Did you know that you were there? Did you have any idea you were close? And obviously, we saw the footage of the reaction coming into the locker room on Twitter. How'd you like the reception?
I took a shower. It was pretty nice. I was cold the rest of the night because I couldn't get dry, but it was pretty special. Anytime you hit a milestone like that, whether you're a player or a coach, goals, assists, points, whatever it may be, you just kind of reflect, right? And obviously it was just a fun win, going out of town and going into Wilmington, and players just had a fantastic game, so it was just a perfect night, and I was just really proud of everything we've accomplished here.
And you guys have certainly accomplished a lot here in the regular season. Now it's down to the time of year that everyone looks forward to, but means your season's going to come to an end soon. So you look ahead now. You've got the ACCHL tournament, obviously, this weekend. You really kind of almost have to win to get into that regional. So what are you looking at as your team obviously has looked really, really good throughout the course of the season? Is there anything that they need to continue to do or need to do more of as you get into postseason play? Is there anything that changes?
I mean, now it's time to go to work, right? This is where all comes together, and we earned our right to be here, and we got our bye, which is what we wanted. So, I think it was Henry that alluded to bring your A game. That's the message in the locker room, and that's what we have to do. We have to sharpen and limit our mistakes and come in and play the way we can play, and we're confident we can get to that championship game.
What is the thing that's made you most proud about this team this year?
There's been so much, just all the work that everyone does off the ice. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's really like a full-time job, and but from a team perspective, just the camaraderie in the locker room, which is really cool. The respect everybody has. Again, it goes into that culture. We have good leaders. I think everybody generally cares about each other in the locker room, so it really helps. I mean, it's the stepping stone you need to achieve success. So there's a lot to be proud of.
Well, and one of the things that I'm sure the whole team's proud of is you pick up that first Governor's Cup win at PNC Arena. And we've talked a lot about this season series against NC State. And I want to propose the same question to you that I did to the guys when it comes to playing this team so much. Obviously, it's a good thing. It stokes the rivalry. It's two good teams that bring out the best in each other. But from a coaching standpoint, we talked about to the players about kind of the difference in each game as you move forward. But what kind of differences have you seen as a coach as you play them again and again?
We've had some good games against them in the past. Obviously that was our first win, but I think just the overall, I would play these guys 10 times a year. The more we can get them on the calendar, the better. It's a rival game. Everybody gets amped up, players, fans, everybody. So, but it was definitely nice to get that monkey off our back, and just kind of proved to everyone that September wasn't a fluke. And we came in and we had a really good game. I felt we dominated that game for at least 50 of the 60 minutes, and it was nice to see the players hoist the cup.
Well, and you get the wins against NC State. You win the division, as you talked about, and you get that bye. How important is that bye, do you feel like, going into the game on the weekend?
I think it's really important when it comes down to maybe not so much Saturday. Everybody's got 2 games in them, but I think Sunday is really going to help us, when we get back Saturday and coming in. Just that fatigue starts setting in as your third game. So, we'll use that to our advantage, and obviously, it's no secret. Our game is speed, and we have a really good forecheck. And I think as long as we can execute, we're going to be tough to defend.
And another thing that we've talked about a good amount on this coaches show is the fact that the expectations continue to go up. And Colin, the general manager, talked about wanting to be at regionals every year, wanting to go to nationals. Where are your expectations going into this weekend and trying to make it back to regionals for a second year in a row?
Yeah, I mean, the winner of the championship this weekend gets an auto bid, so that's definitely something we want to achieve right then and there. But your vision, your goals get bigger every year. It's undoubtedly, to go to the national championship this year in Boston. So, but we don't want to overlook this weekend. It's extremely important. it means a lot to the league, and we're definitely focused on this weekend.
Well, after this weekend, you got a lot of fun coming up after that. The weekend after, or I guess the Monday after the weekend after, you've got the outdoor game at Carter Finley against NC State. And we talk about growing the sport, growing the game, particularly at the college level around here. What are your hopes as you bring college hockey in North Carolina to the biggest stage yet?
It's going to be an unbelievable event, right? Just to play outside, that's how I grew up playing. I remember my first season of hockey was actually all outdoors. Something that kids today just don't experience. Just being out there and just taking it all in. Aside from the game, I might have to bring my skates out there and wheel around a little bit, but pretty cool. I mean, it's going to be a special day.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate the time here, and I think you got some guts here. If we're going to open things up to questions, the players are going to ask some questions of their head coach. So let's turn it out to the crowd here. Who's got questions? Wills.
Coach, we've seen you rock a couple different styles of facial hair while I've been here at UNC. I think I speak for all the boys. When are the handlebars coming back?
So the question is about Coach's facial hair. They want to see a handlebar mustache.
That's November for sure, but it worked pretty good, right? Tell you what, if we go to nationals, you guys want handlebars, I'll do it.
Oh,
yep.
Little challenge. I like it.
All right.
I like it. Who's next?
Can you ask Coach how he feels about Cole Kozlowski's style?
We got a question about Cole Kozlowski's style. I'm guessing what he's wearing.
On or off the ice?
On or off the ice? Off the ice.
I think it's wonderful. It's kind of how I used to dress when I was. Yeah. No, he's an incredible hockey player. Obviously on the ice, he's. Am I avoiding the question?
I like the segue because that's where I was going. Is how he does on the ice for
I
you.
tell these guys suit and tie for home, and polos for, and he always comes in with his Fred Flintstone or bowling, and I'm okay with that as long as you keep scoring goals, right? So we let it slide.
Any other questions? I think Henry.
Least favorite player?
Oh,
Least?
Yeah, least.
the one that asked the question, I think, right?
Captain Henry Foster. You teed it up for me.
Any other questions?
What's it like having a player almost as old as you?
That's a good
I wish
question.
I was 38. Appreciate that.
The question about Joel Hughes having a player that's closer to your age.
I think it's pretty incredible. What a lot of players don't realize is he has to work, twice as hard as these guys. They'll find out when they get in their 30s and late 30s. He really does. He has to put in extra time, and it's not easy. And he's got a big frame in there, so to move around, and if he sees a lot of rubber, that's tough on him. But Joel's got he's so poised in the locker room, and I love that about him. He just brings a lot to the table, and he doesn't say a lot, but when he says something, the guys listen, and they know where he's been and the experience he's had, and that goes all a part of the great thing about our locker room, just the diversity and what everybody brings, but he brings a lot.
And we've talked about it before, but I remember having conversations later on last season, like who's gonna replace Will in net, because Will Douthit was such a stalwart back there for you. So how much of, I don't know if relief is the right word, but how much did it help to bring him in and have him play as well as he did?
I think anytime you can bring in someone that's almost 7 feet tall, you're in good shape, right? But no, it's probably the most important position, right? And we were fortunate to have Will, and he's obviously a great goalie, and there were some concerns, but it ties back into the recruiting and how hard it is to get kids in here, and you had a lot of goalies that wanted to commit, but they unfortunately didn't get in. But he stepped up. Honestly, I didn't know how he was going to play. First 2 weekends were rough, and they were on the road, and he just kept getting better. He's a self-motivator, and that's, I think he inspires the rest of the team in the way he just perseveres and he wants to get better. And he'll send me messages and call me, and I think he tries to think that I'm, especially after the Kentucky series, neither of our goalies had a great series. Their team didn't. And he called me up and he assured me that he was going to turn it around, and here's what I'm going to do to get better. And but I really appreciated that, and he's just a great guy. Yeah.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? I feel like they talk a little more on the ice.
We're trying to work on that too. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we thank everyone for joining us here at Blues on Franklin here tonight for the UNC Hockey Coaches Show. Tar Heels heading into the weekend, South Division champs as they head to the ACCHL Premier Division Tournament. That's all we have for you here from Chapel Hill tonight. Thanks for joining us.